Somewhere in the corners of your mind is a world waiting for you to find. Take a look inside your imagination, and you may discover the world of creation. Oh, hello. I'm sorry, I was just in the middle of looking for something. A very magnificent flying creature. And so far, I don't see one anywhere. Oh, there it is. This is a swan. It may not look like a swan to you, but I think it's about to become one. After all, the world of creation is a place where just about anything can happen. Like that. Now what do you say? Let's make a swan of our own come to life. You may call it sculpting, but I prefer to use a more accurate term. Magic. Before we begin, let's look at some reference pictures. With those in mind, we can sketch out our design. We'll begin with the base. These toothpicks will give it some added support. The base will hold up our swan as it flies through the night sky. To fulfill its function, it must be both sturdy and smooth, and designed to hold the finished swan. Once it looks like it's done, it's time to take it down to the oven to bake and solidify for the next stage. Set your incineration device to the appropriate temperature, and hope for the best. With the first piece completed, we can finish the base. Just roll a ball flat and put the first part of the base into the second. Cover over the seam and smooth it all down. Once completed, this will provide a perfect base to allow our magic to take shape. A little smoother. And I think this is just about ready. To help our swan come to life. And now, while we have a bit of a break, it's time to read some fan mail. Let's see. Oh, here's one. This is from Olori Ramson of Corocridian. Olori writes, Dear Wizard, I am about to embark on a long journey across the universe, and I would like to pay you a visit, if I may. Could you tell me your location? I look forward to meeting you, if possible. Sincerely, Olori Ramson of Corocridian. Well, Olori, I look forward to meeting you too. But as for my location, let's see. These things keep changing. To tell you the truth, I'm not exactly sure where I am right now. But as soon as I find out, you'll be the first to know. Now let's find out what happens next with our swan and rider. The base is done, and the magic is about to go on. Just mold the clay around the top of the base, and mold out the shape of the swan. Clay is kind of like magic, bendable, pliable, and you can shape it to match the vision in your mind. The head is the important part of your model, so you have to be extra careful to get it just right. You can use whatever tools you have, and never be afraid to go back and get areas looking better. In order to fly, our swan will have to be able to see. You can fit the eyeballs into the sockets and roll down the eyelids for a nice fit. You'll also need a tail with feathers and, of course, a pair of functioning wings. Just get the clay nice and flat. Use the mock-up to cut out the wing itself. Pull the clay apart, separate the two, and smooth down the edges. The feathers can go on quickly. Just make sure to pinch out the tips. Perfect for flying with the night wind. Once both wings are done, you can mold them together into one piece. Prop them up with the tips facing upward, and take it down to your oven to bake into one solid piece. Now, with a little magic and some tedious labor, we'll be able to reattach the two, allowing our swan to take shape. There's only one secret to working with clay. Just get the general shape, and then rub it smooth, and rub it smooth again. To make the chair, just fold over a piece of clay. Smooth down the edges with your fingers, then score out the bottom, and do the same to the spot on the swan's back, where it's going to be pressed into place. Then roll out the harnesses, and stick them on firmly. After all, once the swan's taken to the skies, the seat will need to remain firmly strapped in position. And I think that this swan's about ready for a rider. We'll get back to building in just a moment, but first, it's time for a little story. Now where is that library? Oh, here it is. I'll just pop over to the little library, and I'll be back in a moment. See you. Ah, here it is. Now let's read. The Man and the Swan. Once upon a time, there was a man who lived by a lake. He never got to travel, but he always watched the swans landing in the lake and flying away, and he wondered what amazing places they were going. Sometimes he would even dream of flying with them to see their journeys. And then one day, a different swan landed in the pond, one larger than all the others. And to the man's surprise, the swan said to him, "I have known that you are dreaming for many years of flying with the swans, and I will grant your wish. Come, fly with me." And so the man obliged. He climbed onto the swan's back, and together they flew away through the night sky. He saw many wondrous places, far away, and yet none were as wondrous as the places he had seen in his imagination. When they landed, the swan said to him, I see that your wish has been fulfilled, and yet you are not as happy as you could have been. What is the matter?" And the man said, "I have seen many places, wonderful to behold, but none were as amazing as the ones that I had imagined." The swan thought for a long time, and he said to the man, "I will grant you one more wish. What will your wish be?" And the man thought for a very long time before he answered. And it seemed that the next page is missing. Unusual. Maybe we'll finish this story another day, but for now, it's time to finish our model. We're almost done.
You better return that book. You checked out 20 books this week and you haven't returned a single page.
To build the rider, we'll start with sort of a general shape and size, and then we'll add on the details. Magic can be slow, but if you have the patience, the form in your mind will take shape in time. Once some of the details are in place, you can press him firmly into the seat and carve out the line of his coat. To add the hat, we'll sort of bulk up the head, flatten the top, and push on the hat band between the two, the hat above and the head below. Now let's roll out some harnesses. Just wrap them around the head and make sure to break them off at a point where they can be molded back together. And then press them lightly but firmly around the head to get a good connection. And these will become our ring clasps once they've been poked out in the middle. Now let's put on the arm and harness. This is one piece to ensure that the hand and the harness won't become disconnected. Just bulk up the part that represents the arm, mold it on, and carve out the separation between the harness and the hand. Just touch up a few rough edges, and they've just about come to life. During the baking process, our model can become weaker and tend to fall apart. That's why it needs all the support we can give it. Thus, the tinfoil ring to hold it up on all sides. Just make sure the ring is the right height to support the model in all places. If it's not right, the model could fall apart, and we don't want that. But if we do everything right, it should work. Let's see. Fire up your incineration device and wish your model well. This is where it all comes together, and the magic is about to be complete. Our swan's in the oven and cooking. And while we wait, I think it's about time for a very important visitor. He usually comes around this point in the show. He's a bit smaller than ourselves, but he's no less significant. Oh, here he comes now.
Special delivery for you. Something a good deal more intricate than that oversized feathery thing you're working on.
Why look, it's a tiny swan. How clever of Mr. Pennyworth. Of course, being very tiny himself, he should have no problem making something of this scale. But I wonder, can we, being significantly larger than him, achieve the same results? I'm not sure, but I think it just might work. Let's find out. First, let's mold the general size and shape of the body. Then we can pinch out the neck. Roll the neck to make it longer. Pinch out the beak. And the tail. Bulk up the head a little bit. Pinch out the beak some more. Add more separation. And mold on the wings, making sure to smooth everything down. Smooth the neck a bit more. Further define the beak. Then draw in the separation between the wings and the body. Fix the head a little bit, then flatten the bottom to allow it to sit while it bakes. Now it's time to paint. Let's start with a base coat of white. We can add gray accents later. Orange and blue mix to make a nice natural looking beak. Wet the brush to clean it, and apply the swan's iconic black mask around the eyes. And finally, the eyes themselves. A little more gray to make the feathers. Now we can put together a little scene featuring our two swans. Look at that. In spite of our own gargantuan scale, I think we've made a pretty good little swan. And I'm sure Mr. Pennyworth would be proud.
I'm not proud, and I wish you'd consult me before sharing my opinion.
See? I told you he'd love it. He always does that when he really likes something. Now let's get back to our own, and a slightly more upscale swan and rider. We'll start with blue and black for a nice twilight hue for the base. For the swan itself, a base coat of white. Then some gray and white accents. Make sure to get the brush in between the feathers you've carved. The swan's black mask. And the white eye in the middle. Clean the brush. Paint the beak. Mix of orange and blue. For the harnesses, a base coat of bright red. can mix some more colors to give the harnesses a darker, more natural look. A little bit brighter. Now let's clean up the red. And in some cases, clean up the white. Golden clasps, with the red harness showing in the middle. A gold seat. And a very dark brown for the rider's hat. For his shirt, a gray-green, with a wet brush to help it go on better. His pants, a dark grayish brown. Let's make his shoes a light grayish brown. Wet the brush to help the paint go on easier, to fill in the gaps. Now it's time to mix his skin tone. Tan, yellow, white, and red. Now we'll paint his hands and head. His eyes are tiny. This should be a challenge. And his little mouth. Looks kinda happy, doesn't he? Now we'll go back over and fill in any gap we might have missed. And for the base, apply some stars. These little stars can be tricky. You have to make decisive strokes and anticipate having to go back and correct mistakes. Like that one. Let's put some little yellow stars between the big ones, and add some yellow to the stars themselves to make them look more star-like. Just repeat the pattern all over the base, and we have a finished Swan and Rider. And we're done. But are we really? What amazing places are our Swan and Rider going to find on their adventures? Of course, we could just picture them in our heads, but what I had in mind was something a bit more direct. Let's send our Swan and Rider on their first journey, a voyage into the world of imagination. And there it is, sitting right up on the shelf. Looks kinda lonely, don't you think? Not to worry, we'll be making others. Not right away. We'll need some time to sleep, think, and try not to get burned by our pet dragons. But we'll be back. And in the meantime, why don't you try a little magic of your own? Make your own swan. It might not look exactly the same as mine. It might even look better. And if you take the time and the effort, there's a lot more you can do than you realize. And here I go sounding like a counselor. I'm not. I'm just a wizard. And I've got something to give you before you go out on your own adventures. before you leave the world of creation. Just take these, the keys to your imagination. There are many doors there, some big, and others very small. And if you want to know what your mind stores there, just take these. They'll unlock them all. And if you share a wizard's point of view, you'll find lots of magic you can do in your own world of creation.